so many films I wanted to screen based around one night, and I don't get a chance to screen them all because I just don't have enough hours in the day. Well, I do personally, but it's a very solitary experience. Never mind. Everything I say is always so easy to misconstrue. Yeah, so I'm going to take you through a few women's wrestling films. Women were still around in like WrestleMania sort of 7 kind of time.
WrestleMania 7?
I don't even know what
it was mainly managers around that time, wasn't it? I don't think they actually had any women in the ring.
Like it would have been like Miss Elizabeth, Sensational Sherry. Would have been like the young.
And you might get the odd match in like, I don't know, like some SummerSlam.
I realised I'd come very far away from doing anything I enjoyed. I was working all the time and just sleeping and sitting around on my day off. So I thought, as opposed to getting people to come to my house and watch films, because I'm always like, hey, come over to my house and watch some films, watch some bad films with me, I might be able to create my own film club. And I feel, saying this out loud, I feel really big-headed, but actually, like, I do have knowledge about stuff. So, yeah, this is my knowledge and I'm displaying it to people. It makes me feel good, sometimes. It makes me feel terrible for long periods of time. It makes me nervous, it makes me sweaty. I feel like a dolphin, like coming out of a swimming pool, being like, oh, and then like drying out. That's how I feel all the time. This is a very, very odd film. I watched the whole thing. I hated it with a passion. And as always, when I watch something that I really hate, I make sure I bring a little bit of it here, just so you don't think I spend all my time watching great 80s films with big sweaty cigar-chomping villains and old ladies wrestling in mud pits and massive amazing montages. Although now I've said montages, this film is 2/3 montage. I say this all the time, and I don't know where I picked it up from, because it's clearly not original, because I doubt anything that comes out of my mouth is fully formed by me. But I'm not a bad film club. If you're going to a bad film club, you're going to make fun of a film. You can actually learn like loads from watching a film that isn't technically amazing. And I've shown a film called Mysterious Planet by Brett Piper, and I contacted Brett himself and said, hey, I want to show Mysterious Planet, it's your first film. And he was like, oh, it's awful, but if you want, fine, screen it, but it's terrible. It's like, yeah, it's terrible, but he's a guy who made that film himself, using his friends and family, for a pitiful amount of money, and he did all the stop motion himself. He made a stop motion sci-fi adventure that you would need a massive budget for, and he made it for nothing. And it's full of errors, but you can see the love he has for it shining through. And even something horribly corporately put together, like Never Too Young to Die, which is screened, and as well as part of the Punk Night, even that has elements of it that are worth watching. It's worth putting it together and seeing, why is this a bad film, and saying, what am I watching, why has it gone horribly wrong? But if you're sticking something on so you can sneer at it and you can snark at it and you're not going to be funny while you're doing it, that's the main thing. It's basically like, are you just putting something on to make fun of it? It's like, no, someone made this, like someone cared enough to put this together. You can watch it, you can rip it apart, and I'm frequently scathing about like the film clips and stuff I show. Like, things are awful and things are boring, but I haven't wasted my time watching them. They're always worth watching. There's nothing I've watched that isn't worth watching. So that includes the Twilight films. They're just not aimed at me. I'm gonna have like a 20-minute break and then more clips. Is it the same? Oh yeah, oh yeah. The problem, I always come up with loads of ideas. Like, we're doing the wrestling day today. That was one of the first things I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I want to show like women's wrestling films, because when people think of films, like when people think of like showing wrestling films and people are like, oh, we're going to show bad wrestling films, you think of Hulk Hogan. So I need to show people films that aren't kind of being screened. So I kind of look around, see if it's got like a DVD release or not. And if things have got like a proper DVD release and they're available, it's like, good, they're available. But if they're not really available or out of print, I'll try and kind of source them. And I like to think that even though I cover like a broad expanse of things, from like Soviet kids films to Indonesian horror and whatever, They're all distinctly things I would show. It's the personality that you need that you don't get from like Odeon. You just get someone with a fluorescent jacket shining a torch, like to make sure nobody's died in the aisles. People who die at Aorta Burst, I wouldn't care. That would enhance the performance if someone died there, especially if it was showing something scary. And that would be like, Aorta Burst, isn't that film where like old man Garrett died? Like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Like, come to Aorta Burst and you might die. Like, live dangerously. We're doing a special Russian roulette night in the future. It's very underground and hush hush. I'm Aorta Burst, and I've shown you stuff featuring big-haired ladies who act real tough. No screening permission, so it's all unlawful, but nobody cares because the films are awful. Came off with that one in the shower this one. So we're going to move from this into the next film, which is All the Marbles. Came out in 1981.